guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be doing my April reading wrap-up part 2. In case you missed it, I already posted my Hike-a-thon reading wrap-up, which was my April reading wrap-up part 1. I will link that up here in the cards for you guys. So these are going to be all the books that I read in April that were not a part of Hike-a-thon. So I didn't read a ton outside of Hike-a-thon because I read a big chunker. So I read Queen of Air and Darkness. Finally, I did this one via audiobook. I'll link the narrator right here. He was absolutely fantastic and was the reason I did it via audiobook because I read Lord of Shadows, I think in February or maybe March, and I like to physically read Cassandra's books. They go fairly fast for me and I don't always love her narrators, and because they're so long it can seem kind of slow going, but I really enjoyed the narrator for this one, so I decided to listen to it on audio. I had mixed feelings about this one. I did not like it as much as I liked Lady Midnight, but I did like it more than Lord of Shadows. If you're not already a huge fan of the Shadowhunter world, I don't recommend jumping into this series. I really don't recommend it if you haven't read like all the other Shadowhunter books that come in the order that they go, because it's so in depth into the world, and even though you're following new characters, the other characters come in and there's a lot of lore and things that you just won't understand. I'm already on the train, so I might as well keep going. I think I wound up giving this one 4 stars, but it got pretty wild and crazy and did things I wasn't expecting, and it was a little bit all over the place. It was definitely too long in my opinion, which is how I've been feeling about this series in general. It definitely feels like a love letter more towards the Shadowhunter fans. However, I still did enjoy it and it was kind of a wild ride and the narrator was so good. Somebody DM'd me about the very end of this one, like the prologue, because I was like, wait, does that mean? I was like, I need to talk to someone ASAP. So anyway, I did it. I finished another series. I'm very proud of myself. One more off the list. Then I listened to Other Side of the Sky by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. Narrators right here. These are similar narrators to their other books like Lumine and things like that. So I did really enjoy the narrator. This was part of a buddy read that I did with my friend Brittany. This one's a little bit hard to explain. We have got a living goddess that lives in the sky and then a crown prince who falls to earth looking for answers, and they kind of have like a star-crossed lovers mingling. She lives a very different way than he does. He's a little bit more technologically advanced. She has a little bit more of a magic thing happening, and they've got 2 different worlds and they kind of collide. Bad description, but I enjoyed this one. I found it a little bit confusing and I didn't love it quite as much as I wanted to love it. However, it was still fun and I really liked the ending. I'm still giving this 4 stars and I'll definitely check out the other book in the duology. Then I listened to Kingdom of the Curse by Kerri Maniscalco, again continuing with this finishing of series, and I was so disappointed, you guys. I thought I was going to absolutely love this series. I really enjoyed the first book. I was so blown away with Kerri taking a new turn in her writing and doing some magic and fantasy versus more of like a historical fiction with Jack the Ripper. I really enjoyed the first book. I did find it a little bit slow, but I really enjoyed it. This second book, however, it takes a complete turn. It really is more about the romance than it is the plot. And by romance, I mean this book is a lot smuttier. We make a shift from young adult to new adult, which I totally don't understand. I feel like you need to pick one for like each trilogy and stick with it, because I wouldn't recommend someone that's a young adult reading this book. It is very spicy and steamy. However, the first book wasn't that way. I understand it to an extent because you kind of want to build the characters, but there was so much of it in this second book and I feel like we totally lost the plot. I felt like things got kind of repetitive. It was just dragging for me. I just really was not enjoying it. I was very disappointed. I wound up giving this one 2.5 stars, which might be kind of harsh, but I was so frustrated with how different it was from the first book. If the first book had had more of the spiciness and more of the tone of this book in it, at least a little bit, then I feel like it would flow better, but the drastic shift for me was like a lot. So I'm hoping the third book will kind of balance out the two. I am going to read it. But so far I'm really bummed. I know a lot of people felt the opposite, that they kind of didn't love the first book and then they really loved this second book, but it was not my favorite. Then I physically read 3 more of the Space Boy graphic novels. I think I have 1 left and then there's like another one coming out this fall. I talked about this in my March reading wrap up. I think the Galaxy-a-thon edition. This is just a wonderful young adult graphic novel series. It's very complex and has a lot happening. I highly recommend it. I would check out that Galaxy-a-thon wrap up to learn a little bit more because I don't want to dive back into everything here. But basically we've got like a sci-fi space element to this story, very futuristic, and it was incredible. And I'm loving the book, so they're all getting 5 stars from now on. And then lastly, I'll listen to Perfected by Kate Jarvik Birch. I've had this one for a while. This is a dystopian read. We've got kind of a Handmaid's Tale vibe. This was a very short audiobook and I wanted to squeeze it in before Hikeathon is pretty much the only reason I read it. So the narrator right here, she was decent. I enjoyed this first book, but I really am not liking the love interest, and I was hoping there was going to be like a twist or something, but so far that hasn't happened. Basically we have girls that are grown to be pets, so it is legal to adopt these girls that are groomed to be pets. So people have these teenage girls in their house and they're basically like pretty and they play with them and they're kind of like living Barbies, so kind of messed up. And then you kind of learn the background on how this happened, and our main character is just figuring out the world because she's one of these pets. It was really weird and I didn't love the love interest, and I'm reading the second book right now. I'll probably finish it just because it's so short, but I don't really know how I feel about it overall. I gave this first book 3 stars. So that is it, you guys. Those are all the things I read in April that weren't a part of Hikeathon. Be sure and check that other video out. I'm hoping to have a really great reading month for May. I will link my May TBR up in the cards as well for you guys. Let me know how your reading month of April went, if you read some good things. Here is how I'm doing on my unfinished series. I only added 1 more series to the list this month. Not the best, but I'm hoping to knock out a bunch more in May. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Bright Side Girl, and I'll see you next time on The Bright Side.